Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Councilman Mark Squilla, Chairman of the Committee of Streets and Services. The quorum of the committee is being present. We will now begin the hearing. To my left, Councilman O'Brien, Councilman Greenlee, and to my right, Councilman Nielsen. I'm now going to ask Mr. McMonagle to read the title of the first bill.
Bill number 140902, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan numbers 224 and 232 by striking from the City Plan and vacating Cayuga Street from Whitaker Avenue to its terminus, eastwardly therefrom, and revising and placing on the City Plan a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes within the lines of Cayuga Street being stricken, and authorizing acceptance of the grant to the City of Philadelphia of said right-of-way under certain terms and conditions.
Before we start with your testimony, I just want to note for the record, Bill number 120057 and 140907 will be held at the call of the sponsor. Thank you. Please proceed, state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squale and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Frank Morelli, Survey Bureau Manager with the Department of Streets. The Department of Streets would like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 140902. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Sidney E. Gable. The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize the striking from the City Plan and vacating Cayuga Street from Whitaker Avenue to its terminus, eastwardly therefrom. A right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes will be reserved within the area being stricken. This section of Cayuga Street is not paved or open to public traffic, and the city has no plans to construct or maintain a street at this location. This action has been requested by the budding owners in order to provide an opportunity for business expansion and additional area for parking. This ordinance is supported by the Department of Streets and is recommended to your committee for favorable action.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 140902, which Councilmember Sanchez introduced on November 13, 2014. Bill number 140902 strikes and vacates Cayuga Street from Whitaker Avenue to its eastwardly terminus and reserve a utility right-of-way. This portion of Cayuga Street is neither physically improved nor open to the public traffic. This bill will enable the land consolidation for the creation of a parking area for the existing adjoining business. At its meeting on December 9, 2014, the City Planning Commission recommended that Bill number 140902 be approved. And this concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Does anybody have any questions of this panel? Seeing none, is anyone else here to testify on Bill number 140902? Seeing none, Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 140971, an ordinance authorizing the Children's Hospital, University of Pennsylvania Hospital, Philadelphia, construct, own, and maintain various right-of-way encroachments within the public right-of-way. Is that correct? I'm sorry. An ordinance, Bill number 140971, an ordinance authorizing the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia to construct, own, and maintain various right-of-way encroachments within the public right-of-way at 2716 South Street, Philadelphia, PA 19146, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 140971. This bill authorizes Children's Hospital of Philadelphia to construct, own, and maintain various right-of-way encroachments at 2716 South Street, Philadelphia, PA 19146 as follows. Encroachment description: structural sidewalk and vehicular bridge, South Street. For public access to the building and a public pedestrian plaza necessary to meet the existing bridge deck and elevated roadway and projecting over the right-of-way, city-owned parcel and drainage easement by variable distance in width from the drainage easement to the southern face of the South Street Bridge / retaining wall for a distance of approximately 300 feet in length. The encroachment also includes columns and foundations in a drainage easement necessary to support the structural sidewalk and vehicular bridge for garage access. Stairways in South Street. For public access to the building and a public pedestrian plaza necessary to meet the existing bridge deck and elevated roadway and projecting onto the right-of-way by a variable distance in width to the southern face of the South Street Bridge/retaining wall and approximately 30 feet in length, maintaining the existing sidewalk width, variable width 14.6 feet to 18.1 feet on the bridge and retained section for pedestrian traffic. Planners on South Street. 4 separate planners shall be integrated with the plaza construction that projects into the right-of-way. Planners located along the South Street site frontage at a maximum dimension of approximately 60 feet in length and projecting over the right-of-way and drainage easement by variable distance in width, maintaining the existing sidewalk width, variable width 9.6 feet to 18.1 feet on the bridge and retained section for pedestrian traffic. Excuse me. Building, South Street. The proposed Phase 2 future tower building face projecting over the proposed structural sidewalk and drainage easement of variable distance providing a minimum vertical clearance of 8.17 feet above the structural plaza, planners, and driveway for a distance of 30 feet. Retaining wall, South Street. For screening a service driveway from the adjacent neighborhood. This wall will be approximately perpendicular to the South Street retaining wall and allow for fill placement and landscaping on the east face of the wall. The wall will project onto the right-of-way from the southern right-of-way line to the southern face of the South Street retaining wall and will be located approximately 200 feet from the westerly right-of-way line of 27th Street. This encroachment will not impact pedestrian traffic on South Street because it is outside the existing sidewalk limits. Stairway and structural sidewalk, Bainbridge Avenue. For public access to the upper level of the pedestrian plaza and projecting onto the Bainbridge right-of-way reserved for drainage and utility purposes for a distance of approximately 205 feet. This encroachment occupies the entire width of the right-of-way between Schuylkill Avenue and the CSX right-of-way and provides public access to the pedestrian plaza on the property, as well as to a pedestrian bridge crossing CSX right-of-way to provide access to the Schuylkill River Trail. The proposed staircase will provide a ramp system meeting ADA accessibility requirements to the structural sidewalk plaza. Planners, Bainbridge Avenue. 15 separate planners will be integrated with the stairway and pedestrian plaza in Bainbridge right-of-way between Schuylkill Avenue and the Schuylkill River. The first will be located approximately 135 feet west of Schuylkill Avenue, and the last will be located approximately 355 feet from Schuylkill Avenue and integrated into the stairway and structural sidewalk. The planners vary in shape and maintain a minimum 4.5 feet of clearance for pedestrian traffic. Bollards, Bainbridge Avenue. Bollards are provided to provide a barrier between the access driveway and the stairway and structural sidewalk occupying the Bainbridge right-of-way reserved for drainage and utility purposes. A total of 7 bollards are proposed within the right-of-way. The bollards are approximately 13 feet from the edge of the driveway and maintain a minimum 10 feet of clearance for pedestrian traffic. Driveway, footway, pedestrian lights and stairs, Bainbridge Avenue. For public access to the upper level of the pedestrian plaza and for between building sites on the property, a private driveway and footway and projecting onto the full width of Bainbridge right-of-way reserved for drainage and utility purposes. This area begins at the right-of-way line for Schuylkill Avenue and extends westward to the proposed stairway and structural sidewalk in Bainbridge Avenue. 4 pedestrian lights are proposed within this area. Vehicular bridge, Schuylkill Avenue. The vehicular bridge allows a hydraulic connection between areas of the site and connects the access driveway to Schuylkill Avenue. The bridge extends a maximum of 2 feet 8 inches into the right-of-way for a width of 28 feet. Pedestrian lighting, Schuylkill Avenue. Approximately 15 private pedestrian lights are proposed in the furnishing zone of Schuylkill Avenue along the property frontage to provide additional lighting on the footway. The required complete streets walking zone width of 6 feet will be maintained along the Schuylkill Avenue sidewalk. The Streets Department has no objections to the proposed encroachment. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Sarah, you want to...
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 140971, which Councilmember Johnson introduced on December 4th, 2014. Bill number 140971 will allow the construction of Children's Hospital of Philadelphia's development at 700 Schuylkill Avenue. The proposed plazas, including steps, planters, and ramps connecting to the proposed office building to South Street Bridge sidewalk, the building foundation along Schuylkill Avenue, as well as steps, ramps, planters within Bainbridge Street. All of the encroachment elements will leave sufficient walking zone distance that meet minimum complete streets requirements. The Planning Commission had recommended for approval for Bill number 1408 59, remapping the site on November 19, 2014. Therefore, at its meeting on January 20, 2015, the Planning Commission recommended Bill number 140971 for approval as an item in accord with previous policy. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Let's finish testimony. Just state your name for the record.
Sure. Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the committee. I'm Peter Grollman, Vice President for Government Affairs, Community Relations, and Advocacy at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Thank you for the opportunity to consider this encroachment ordinance. As you've heard, it's an important piece of a major project and expansion for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia on an 8-acre site aligning the Schuylkill River. The facility represents over 600,000 square feet of redevelopment. The first phase of the project will house up to 1,000 jobs and consist of over 2 million hours, work hours of construction in the city of Philadelphia. This is a project that has generated a considerable interest and support in the community. We're grateful for support from the Streets and Planning Commission and from Councilman Johnson, who introduced the legislation. I'm happy to take any questions and appreciate your support.
Thank you, Peter, for your testimony. Is there any questions here from the panel? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 140971? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 150003, an ordinance authorizing the trustees of the University of Pennsylvania to construct, own, and maintain a temporary pedestrian bridge right-of-way encroachment within the public right-of-way at 3400 Civic Center Boulevard and 1 Convention Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19104, under certain terms and conditions.
Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge, for the record, Councilwoman Cindy Bass in attendance for the hearing. Thank you. Please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 150003. This bill authorizes the trustees of the University of Pennsylvania to construct, own, and maintain a temporary pedestrian bridge right-of-way encroachment within the public right-of-way at 3400 Civic Center Boulevard and 1 Convention Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19104, as follows. Encroachment description. A temporary pedestrian bridge extending at its longest point within the Convention Avenue right-of-way, a maximum length, house line to house line, of 113 feet, and with a center line located over the northerly curb line of Convention Avenue, approximately 58 feet east of the easterly curb line of 34th Street. Over the southerly curb line of Convention Avenue, approximately 96 feet east of the easterly curb line of 34th Street. Said bridge, with a minimum of 20 feet of clearance and a maximum height of 40 feet, with exceptions as may be required to meet the technical requirements and approval of the Department of Streets and License and Inspections. The Streets Department has no objections to the proposed encroachment. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 150003, which Councilmember Blackwell introduced on January 22, 2015. Bill number 150003 will allow the construction of a temporary pedestrian bridge within the Convention Avenue right-of-way south of 34th Street for the length of approximately 113 feet. The proposed bridge will have a minimum clearance of 20 feet and a maximum height of 40 feet. The proposed encroachment will have no impact on the existing sidewalks. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on February 17, 2015, with a staff recommendation that Bill number 150003 be approved. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions on this bill? Seeing none, I also note that Penn is also here if there is any questions. Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 150003? Thank you for your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 150054, an ordinance authorizing Thomas Jefferson University to construct, own, and maintain lighted bollard right-of-way encroachments within the public right-of-way at 1008 Locust Street, Philadelphia, PA, 19107, under certain terms and conditions.
Hold on one second. I just want to note for the record that Bill number 150003 was testimony was for the amended version.
Do you have an amendment?
I didn't see it. Oh, okay.
All right, so yes, I guess just it was adding the EOP into the plan, so that would be your testimony in favor of.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry for the confusion. We can now proceed with, Sean, you want to read the bill over again before we start?
Bill number 150054, an ordinance authorizing Thomas Jefferson University to construct, own, and maintain lighted bollard right-of-way encroachments within the public right-of-way at 1008 Locust Street, Philadelphia, PA 19107, under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed. Good morning, Chairman School and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 150054. This bill authorizes Thomas Jefferson University to construct, own, and maintain lighted bollard right-of-way encroachments within the public right-of-way at 1008 Locust Street, Philadelphia, PA 19107 as follows. Encroachment description: 2 lighted bollards approximately 18 inches off of the southerly curb face of Locust Street. Total height not to exceed 3 feet with reinforced concrete foundations not to exceed 2 feet in diameter and not extending more than 3 feet below the final sidewalk elevation. Bollards are to be located respectively approximately 195 feet from the southeasterly corner of 11th and Locust Streets and the southwesterly corner of 10th and Locust Streets, or adjusted in proximity to said locations as may be necessary for field conditions. Conduit for lighting power to remain excluded and subject to the permitted use via the applicant's right-of-way use license. The Streets Department has no objections to the proposed encroachment. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 150054, which Councilmember Squilla introduced on January 29, 2015. Bill number 150054 will allow the construction of 2 lighted bollards approximately 18 inches off the south curb line of Locust Street. The bollards are not to exceed 3 feet in height, with reinforced concrete foundations are not exceed 2 feet in diameter and not extending more than 3 feet below final sidewalk elevation. The proposed encroachment will leave sufficient walking zone for pedestrians on Locust Street. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on February 17, 2015, with the staff recommendation that Bill number 150054 be approved. And this concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on Bill number 150054? Thank you for your testimony. Ms. McLaughlin, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 150053, an ordinance legalizing an existing retaining wall encroaching on the public right-of-way at 1806 Emerson Street, Philadelphia, PA 19152, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So I'll be testifying on the amendment to this bill.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 150053, as amended. This bill legalizes an existing retaining wall constructed by Ruben Burgos, encroaching on the public right-of-way at 1806 Emerson Street, Philadelphia, PA 19152, as follows. Encroachment description: an existing retaining wall running along the property frontage of 1806 Emerson Street. Said retaining wall encroaches 5 1/2 feet into the southerly footway of Emerson Street, with 8 feet 6 inches footway space remaining. The retaining wall, being 3 feet 7 inches high with 4 decorative columns extending to 4 feet 10 inches high above the Emerson Street sidewalk, extends approximately 3 feet below grade, as shown on plan titled Site Plan Wall Detail, as prepared by Richard Brown, RA, and dated May 7, 2014. Within this retaining wall were also constructed 5 lateral retaining walls and steps extending from the parcel to the retaining wall and situated at each of one property boundary, 2 sides of the existing steps, 1 side of an existing driveway, and 1 side of an existing driveway and property boundary. The Streets Department has no objections to the proposed encroachment. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 150053, which Councilmember O'Neill introduced on January 29, 2015. Bill number 150053 will legalize an existing retaining wall encroaching onto the public right-of-way at 1806 Emerson Street. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on February 17, 2015, with a staff recommendation that the Commission requests additional 45 days to review this bill 150053. And this concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today and be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is there any questions on this bill? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 150053? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 140903. An ordinance amending Title 10, entitled Regulation of Individual Conduct and Activity of the Philadelphia Code, by adding rules regarding use of dumpsters, all under certain terms and conditions.
Anyone here to testify on this bill, please proceed to the desk. When you're ready, just state your name for the record and then proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. Who was first? Hi, good morning. Phil Brzee, Recycling Director, Department of Streets. Good morning, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. I'm Phil Brzee, the city's Recycling Director in the Department of Streets, and I'm here today to deliver testimony on Bill number 104903, introduced by Councilman O'Brien and Councilwoman Bass, which would amend Title 10 of Philadelphia Code to modify and clarify rules regarding the use of dumpsters. Excuse me. The Streets Department believes that the bill presents a common-sense approach to encourage growth in the recycling and diversion of organics in Philadelphia. Indeed, the department advocated this type of approach in testimony to this committee on November 12th during the hearing on organics recycling. The department believes that this bill contains two important benefits. First, the bill specifically identifies organics diversion as a form of recycling. This is important because dumpster medallion fees for recycling are 1/2 of what the fees are for trash and rubbish containers. Businesses that choose to manage their waste in this far more environmentally sound manner can now be further incentivized through lower dumpster medallion fees. Second, this bill acknowledges that dumpster technology has evolved and will continue to do so. The current code relies on minimum collection frequencies for dumpsters in order to maintain sanitary conditions. This bill creates exceptions that permit authorized use of modern, proven technologies, including compactors which have gauges that indicate their fullness levels and can be emptied as needed, and aerated composting dumpsters which neutralize food waste odors. We expect that many food businesses will continue to rely on garbage disposals to manage grindable food waste. However, the restaurants that choose to recycle and compost their organics would face fewer hurdles under this bill. More importantly, the bill also maintains safeguards in the existing code, including requirements that dumpsters remain tightly closed and secured, that businesses and building owners maintain the cleanliness of the dumpster area, and that other city agencies may order more frequent collection where dumpsters are repeatedly found to be overflowing. In summary, the department views this legislation as positive for businesses, residents, and the city, incentivizes organics recycling, and opens the door to more modern waste management methods while continuing to safeguard the general public against unsanitary conditions, all without significantly impacting the Streets Department's enforcement programs. Thank you for the opportunity to testify this morning. This concludes my testimony, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. All right, we have one question before we continue. Councilman Nielsen?
Phil, this is an option for these businesses, correct?
Correct.
So when you talk about food business and incentivizing, the way they dispose of their stuff now, they could do it cheaper if they go this way. It's not a mandate on any food restaurant or any, say, food business.
It's possible. You know, I guess that really depends on
It's possible mandate? Or it's not a
I'm sorry. It's possible that they could, you know, achieve cost savings through handling their food waste in this method. I think all this bill really is intended to do is to remove the hurdles and allow for this to be an option that maybe has more favor because of the licensing fee differences.
So it's an encouragement, right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed with testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Squilla, members of the Committee on Streets and Services. My name is Maurice Samson. I'm the president of Niche Waste Reduction and Recycling Systems and an appointee of the Solid Waste Recycling and Advisory Committee. Thank you for this opportunity to comment on Bill 140903 regarding the rules of dumpsters. I want to begin by acknowledging members O'Brien and Bass for their leadership on this issue and offer some background on my background prior to offering my recommendations. As a recycling waste management consultant, I've been performing work for commercial clients for some 10 years, serving mostly private existing businesses and institutions, in addition to designing sustainable waste management systems for new construction projects. The work has given me the opportunity to have an intimate understanding of the issues addressed by this committee and to work with representatives from the waste industry and public officials, from the Streets Department, License Inspections, and the Health Department. I support this bill. Old-time waste collectors will tell you never collect rubbish and garbage together because it is unsanitary. This intent was long reflected in the code and has been lost over the last 20 years with the disappearance of citywide collection of food waste by farmers for their pigs. It is appropriate that this bill brings back that wisdom. Not only with this bill maintains the safeguards that protect the health of our citizens and the cleanliness of our neighborhoods, it will also support the growth of composting services among food-related businesses. I also recognize this bill will simplify this section of the code. I applaud that effort as well, and I want to offer two supporting recommendations having to do with language. I believe that it's time for us to strike in the bill all those references to grindable and non-grindable. As an explanation, I want you to consider the definitions for grindable garbage, and garbage disposal unit in Chapter 9-604 of the Philadelphia Code. Garbage disposal unit is defined as any mechanical or power device used to reduce food waste other than grease so it can be discharged into the sewer system of the city or into cesspools and septic tanks. Grindable garbage is garbage that can normally be disposed of by the use of our garbage disposal unit. Garbage is defined as organic residue of both animals and vegetable matter which results from the preparation and consumption of food and including small dead animals. These definitions make the following clear. Small dead animals are the only item that qualifies as non-grindable waste. The Health Department and Philadelphia Code calls for the disposal of dead animals by the Streets Department or by the animal care and control teams, not garbage disposers. Today's commercial-rated garbage disposers are capable of grinding all restaurant-generated waste, including bones and oyster shells. The terms grindable and non-grindable are archaic terms that have been regurgitated in amended legislation for more than 30 years as the technology for garbage disposers has changed constantly. The use of garbage to describe dead animals has been completely obscured. For these reasons, the terms grindable and non-grindable garbage are not relevant in this ordinance and really should be eliminated from this bill. There are also today a range of on-site appliances that meet the definition of garbage disposal unit such that we really need to look at them and make additional clarifications by regulation. I also feel that in that consideration, provision 4D, garbage, and this is the provision that would allow for the mixing of non-grindable garbage and rubbish, also needs to be struck. And if you talk about that, the mixing of garbage and rubbish in the container should never be permitted. There are no bags or sealable containers that have been found to be puncture-proof, and it really undermines the very conditions this legislation is seeking to avoid. In summary, these recommendations would effectively create an ordinance which would call for the complete separation and storage of garbage or food waste from rubbish or trash prior to the collection or disposal by a waste hauler or a garbage disposal, composting, or the feeding of animals. At no time would garbage be mixed with rubbish. This is a bill that supports the collection aspects of a sanitation ordinance. There is more work to be done, perhaps in future legislation. Archaic language should be updated in other parts of the code. Law or regulation does not cover changes in waste disposal technology available to individual commercial businesses. Some of these technologies are not permitted under the regulations, under present regulations, and would benefit the city at a lower cost to the businesses. Others are being installed with potential to undermine city-wide systems currently in place to manage water waste by the water department. One, for instance, I can give you is a unit that's known as a waste disposal unit. It's a unit that acts like a stomach that takes food waste and turns it to water. It calls on the user to actually add an enzyme that is considered proprietary. That enzyme in some municipalities is completely banned because there's no knowledge of what that enzyme does once it gets into the waste disposal, into the sewer system. Other places actually encourage it because there's a theory that it does benefit. We don't know what it does. In this city, we are encouraging food disposers because we have a technology that allows us to turn that food waste into energy, which is saving the city money. An enzyme that destroys food waste would undermine that system. Is this good? Is this bad? We don't really know, but it's something that we need to consider and look at. And that's only one example of one technology that under our law is considered a garbage disposal unit. I would further recommend the Committee on Streets consider future legislation and revisions to Section 9-604 refuse collection, definitions for garbage disposal unit, and grindable garbage, and issues with related regulations given the development of composting and food disposal technology. In conclusion, while there is more work to be done, this ordinance is a step in the right direction at the right time. Thank you for making it happen.
Thank you. Are there any questions to this panel?
Thank you.
Councilwoman Bass?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you both for your testimony today, and also for Maurice specifically, since we've done so much work on these issues over so many years, that I'd like to really talk to you offline along with Councilman O'Brien, and maybe we could figure out how to incorporate some of the adjustments that you seek. So I'd like to have that conversation offline and to further explore what the possibilities are with this language. So thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. Anyone else here to testify on Bill number 140903? For the record, I'd just like to say that the Pennsylvania Apartment Association submitted testimony in support of the amendment of the Bill number 140903. That concludes the hearing on the Committee of Streets and Services. We'll now go into a public meeting. The chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the adoption of the amendments as previously presented to the following three bills. Bills number 150003, 150053, and 140903.
All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Amendments to those bills have been approved. The chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the following bills be reported as this committee with a favorable recommendation that the rules of council be suspended to allow for first reading at our next session of council. Bills number 140902, 140971, 150003 as amended, 150054, 150053 as amended, and 140903 as amended.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, ayes have it. All bills have passed the committee. Thank you for your time and consideration. Have a great day.